Hey guys, so it's time for me to do a first little review of my Emax Tinyhawk S. We finally had a few hours today without rain, so I could go out and give this quad a dozen or so of packs. But first of all, let's check what the Tinyhawks comes with. So it is in this super neat little box. Inside we have a 1S battery, 450 milliamp hours, a 2S 300 milliamp hour battery. Also comes with a small travel charger, which is super neat. You can plug this in any USB. We have a bunch of spare parts, tiny screwdriver, replacement plug, and some rubber bands for fixing the battery in case they break. Here's a bunch of extra props, of course some stickers, a pretty decent manual, and it comes with this warning to have the right pit profile if you are running this onto S, but we'll take a closer look at this later. First, let's check the weight of the Emax. So we have roughly 29 grams dry weight with the 1S. We are at 42 grams all up weight, and with a 2S 44, so the difference isn't that big between these two. The quad itself is made out of this whoop style plastic frame. It is actually pretty soft. I mean, you can really, I'm not putting any effort in bending this around, but because it is this sort of rubbery material, I suppose that it's going to be pretty durable, because this just bounces off anything like a little basketball. This thing is, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just bouncy. If you fly against something, it just bounces off, nothing happens. So I suppose that it will hold up pretty well. Some people have reported breaking these spokes here. I haven't managed to do that so far. The only thing that I noticed is that the camera lens is kind of exposed, so it kind of touches the ground if you land upside down. So I managed to slightly scratch this today. The USB port is nicely accessible. You have a little button here to set your VTX channel, but it's not really necessary because also it has a VTX with IRC tram, so you can simply set your VTX power and channels in Betaflight. These motors should be super easy to replace in case one of them breaks, because you have a connector here. You can simply unplug the motor and put another one in. The battery is held in place by these rubber bands here. The way this is designed, it will probably limit the choice of batteries you can use, but those 2S 300 milliamp hour Turnigy batteries that I bought a whole bunch of super cheap perfectly fit here. And the only modification I did so far is add an XT30, not because it's really necessary, but simply because all those batteries I have an XT30 plug. The RX and VTX antennas, so the RX antenna is here, that one sticks out. The VTX antenna is kind of hidden somewhere inside of the plastic frame. And many people do a mod to pull out the VTX antenna. For me, for what I do with this quad, I basically use it as a whoop for outside. I fly in pretty close proximity. I didn't find that to be necessary. I had more than enough range for me. Setting up the Tinyhawk S is super simple and straightforward. all I had to do is bind my FreeSky radio. So you just have to know, and it kind of confused me because I didn't read the manual, to be honest. This button here is for the VTX. It's not the bind button. The bind button is hidden here somewhere underneath the plastic. You can kind of see it. It's this. So it is accessible. It's not a problem. And I mean, you only have to do this once to bind this. Apart from that, I just set it on my preferred personal rates. I check which pit profile it is on because you get this extra warning, which is neat. On 2S, you need another pit profile compared to 1S. The default is it comes on the 2S pit profile, which is probably a safety thing, but you just need to check this, that you are on the right one, because I suppose the 2S profile on 1S is not a problem, but apparently having the 1S profile on 2S could cause fly-offs. So be aware, check this, and that's pretty much all you have to do. It's perfectly set up. The OSD was nicely set up. Everything is pretty much ready to fly on this quad. So let's watch some DVR footage. About the flight performance, the first few seconds when I flew the Tinyhawk, I was kind of disappointed because I was flying super powerful 3S Toothpicks the last few days. It felt kind of slow and lacking power, but quite quickly I realized that this also meant that I had so much more control over the quad. It's pretty, I mean, it feels super locked and super smooth, and I'm trying to kind of show this in the video. It was just so much fun to fly in proximity. It was super precise. You can see me here fly underneath these little fences and under this bench. This is incredibly precise, and that is so much fun. Even though you don't have this crazy power that feels like a 5-inch quad, which you have on some of the Toothpicks. So overall, I mean, I was really happy. It was really a lot of fun to fly this quad. The flight times on 2S, I mean, I wasn't really impressed with those. I really hardly managed to get 2 minutes of rather relaxed flight time. So that isn't all that great. So expect to get between 1.5 and 2.5 minutes max on 2S 300 milliamp hour batteries. I didn't set up any or calibrate any current meter, so I have no idea how high the amp draw is, but I suppose that it's pretty low. See me here do a little power loop, and then it catches up well. So it's got more than enough power, but not too much. So overall, I can really recommend this in terms of flight performance. That was a lot of fun. So a very interesting question I also want to talk about is which one is better, getting a Toothpick or getting a brushless whoop like the Tinyhawk S that runs 2S. And clearly these are two completely different things. While when I fly a Toothpick, it just feels like a bigger 5 or 3-inch quad. I just have this, all the power I have and the control, that just feels like a bigger quad. I have the full experience. The Emax Tinyhawk, while clearly this isn't slow and it doesn't lack power, it's not the same. It feels like a whoop. Is this a bad thing? I think not necessarily. I mean, I had so much fun with this Tinyhawk. I didn't have that much fun for a long time while flying because it was just so nice, not too fast. You're super in control to do some proximity flying around small obstacles. That was really nice. And the thing is with this is my modified Ishin Red Devil with my canopy. This is a 3S Toothpick. This is really fast, so I actually have to look for a spot, if you know what I mean. I have to look for a place that's, you know, where there aren't too many people around, we have enough space to fly, while this is so quiet and can fly in such tiny spaces. I mean, on 1S I could fly this in a hotel room when I'm traveling without any issues. So for traveling, this is way better in my opinion. This is what I would take on, for example, a business travel where I want to bring a tiny quad, because I can use this literally anywhere. It doesn't bother anyone. I don't need a much space. While this is more, I mean, this is more performance. This is faster, but it's less. I mean, it's more of a hassle to find a place to fly. So I would say there's no wrong or right here. Really depends on what you do. It's two completely different concepts in my opinion. And then basically it just comes down to what your personal preferences are, and in what kind of surrounding you are, how easy it is to find a spot to fly.